Early life in Dagestan. Khabib Nurmagomedov was born on September 20, 1988, in the small village of Sildi in Dagestan, Russia. He grew up in a mountainous region where life was simple, disciplined, and physically demanding. Dagestan is known for producing elite wrestlers, and wrestling is deeply rooted in the culture. For Khabib, fighting was not just a sport, it was a way of life from childhood. His father, Khabib Nurmagomedov, was a decorated wrestler and highly respected coach. Khabib played the most important role in shaping Khabib's future. From a very young age, Khabib was introduced to wrestling, judo, and sambo. Training was not optional, it was part of daily life. One of the most famous stories from his childhood is the video of young Khabib wrestling a bear cub. While symbolic and playful, it showed how early he developed fearlessness and toughness. Growing up in a strict household, Khabib learned discipline, humility, and respect. His father emphasized character development as much as physical strength. Life in Dagestan was not luxurious. Conditions were tough, winters were cold, and resources were limited. But those hardships built resilience. Instead of video games or entertainment, Khabib spent his time training. Long runs in the mountains, wrestling drills on mats, and physical conditioning were normal parts of his childhood. His early years were built around discipline, faith, hard work, respect for elders, loyalty to family. These values would later define his personality both inside and outside the cage. Education and college life. Unlike many Western athletes whose college life revolves around campus sports culture, Khabib's education was balanced differently. He attended local schools in Dagestan while simultaneously training at a high level. His academic journey was steady, but his primary focus was always wrestling. Khabib later attended university in Russia, studying at the Plekhanov Russian University of Economics. However, his college life was very different from the typical social college experience. He was not known for partying or distractions. Instead, his routine revolved around training sessions, studies, and religious commitments. His father ensured that education remained important. Khabib believed that intelligence and strategy were critical in combat sports. Wrestling was physical, but MMA required thinking, planning, and discipline. Khabib carried this mindset into his higher education years. During his university period, he trained multiple times a day, followed strict diet plans, avoided nightlife and distractions, focused on mental growth and strategic understanding while others enjoyed casual student life. Khabib treated college as another stage of discipline. He maintained a simple lifestyle, prioritizing sport and family over entertainment. His wrestling and sambo competitions during these years helped him build the foundation for a professional MMA career. He became a combat sambo world champion, further strengthening his reputation. Married life and family value. Khabib is known for being extremely private about his personal life. He married his wife in 2013 in a traditional Dagestani ceremony. Unlike many global athletes, he keeps his wife out of public attention. Respecting cultural and religious values, his marriage reflects his personality. Loyalty, privacy, faith, strong family structure. He and his wife have children together. And Khabib often mentions that family is more important than fame or money. After retiring undefeated with a 29-0 record, he publicly stated that he promised his mother he would not continue fighting after his father passed away in 2020. This shows the deep emotional bond within his family. The death of his father was the most emotional turning point in his life. Khabib was not just a coach, but a mentor and guide. After his father's passing due to health complications, Khabib honored his legacy by defending his title one final time before retiring. In married life, Khabib focuses on being a responsible husband, being a present father, teaching discipline to his children, continuing his father's coaching legacy. He now mentors young fighters and carries forward Khabib's training philosophy. Character built from early years. Khabib's early life and education shaped him into a disciplined athlete, a humble champion, a loyal family man, a man of faith. His upbringing in Dagestan created mental toughness that later helped him dominate MMA without ever losing a fight. Khabib Nurmagomedov began his professional MMA career in 2008. While many fighters start slowly and build experience over time, Khabib entered the sport with a foundation already stronger than most professionals. Years of wrestling, sambo, and judo under his father Khabib Nurmagomedov had shaped him into a disciplined and technically superior grappler. Between 2008 and 2011, Khabib fought in regional promotions across Russia and Ukraine. During this period, he built an undefeated record, finishing most opponents through submissions and ground control. His dominance was clear. Once he secured a takedown, opponents rarely escaped. Unlike flashy strikers, Khabib's style was calculated and suffocating. He did not rush for knockouts. He focused on control, pressure, and exhausting his opponents physically and mentally. Signing with the UFC a new challenge in 2012, Khabib signed with the Ultimate Fighting Championship UFC, the biggest MMA organization in the world. Many international fighters struggle when transitioning to the UFC due to higher competition levels, but Khabib treated it as just another step in his journey. His UFC debut came against Kamal Shalaris, where he displayed relentless takedowns and control. From that moment, fans and analysts began noticing something different about him. Khabib's early UFC fights showed elite chain wrestling, unmatched cardio, incredible top control, mental calmness. Under pressure, he defeated fighters like Gleison Tibau, Rafael dos Anjos, and Pat Healy, steadily climbing the lightweight rankings. Injuries and setbacks. Despite his undefeated record, Khabib's career was not without obstacles. Between 2014 and 2016, he suffered serious knee injuries that kept him out of competition for nearly 2 years. For most fighters, long layoffs destroy momentum. Doubts begin to grow. But Khabib used this time to rebuild physically and mentally. He focused on recovery, strengthening weak areas, and studying fight strategies. These injuries tested his patience and discipline. They proved that his success was not just physical, but mental. When he returned in 2016, he looked stronger and more focused than ever. The lightweight division takeover, the UFC lightweight division, was stacked with elite fighters. Yet Khabib approached each fight with the same strategy: close the distance, secure a takedown, apply pressure, control, and dominate his fight against. Michael Johnson in 2016 showcased not only physical dominance but psychological control. Khabib talked calmly during the fight, telling Johnson to give up while maintaining top position. Then came his bout against Edson Barboza in 2017, one of the most dominant performances in UFC history. Barboza, known for dangerous striking, was completely neutralized. Winning the UFC lightweight championship in April 2018, Khabib faced Ai Quinta for the vacant UFC lightweight championship. Despite last-minute opponent changes due to chaos at the event, Khabib stayed composed. He dominated the fight and became the undisputed UFC lightweight champion. This moment represented years of sacrifice from the mountains of Dagestan to the world stage. The Conor McGregor fight, the biggest moment in October 2018, Khabib fought Conor McGregor in one of the most anticipated fights in UFC history. The build-up was filled with tension and personal attacks. McGregor insulted Khabib's family, religion, and country. For Khabib, this fight became deeply personal. Inside the cage, however, he remained focused. He dominated McGregor with takedowns and pressure before submitting him in the 4th round. The fight ended with post-fight chaos, but it cemented Khabib's dominance. He proved that discipline and wrestling fundamentals could overpower even the biggest superstar. Final title defenses and retirement. After defending his title against Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje, both highly dangerous opponents, Khabib retired in October 2020. With a perfect record of 29-0, he announced his retirement after submitting Gaethje, explaining that he promised his mother he would not fight without his father, who had passed away earlier that year. This decision shocked the MMA world but showed his values: family first. Why his dominance was different. Khabib's dominance came from years of mountain training, strong wrestling-based discipline from childhood, mental toughness, emotional control. He did not rely on hype or trash talk. His confidence came from preparation. Khabib Nurmagomedov was not built in bright gyms with cameras and sponsorship banners. He was built in the mountains of Dagestan, where discipline was not optional and comfort did not exist. His gym philosophy is rooted in one simple belief: hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. For Khabib, the gym is not a place to look strong, it is a place to become unbreakable. From childhood, his father, Khabib Nurmagomedov, taught him that training was sacred. You do not skip sessions. You do not complain. You do not train halfway. Every workout had purpose. This early structure shaped the mental blueprint that later allowed him to dominate the UFC lightweight division without losing a single fight. Training in the mountains, building natural strength. Khabib's early conditioning did not rely on machines or luxury facilities. His father used natural environments to build raw power. Training methods included running uphill in high altitudes, wrestling outdoors on uneven surfaces, swimming in cold rivers, bodyweight strength circuits, grappling for hours without breaks. High altitude training increases lung capacity and endurance. By the time Khabib began fighting internationally, his cardio felt endless compared to opponents who trained at sea level. This natural conditioning became one of his biggest weapons. When opponents started to slow down in round 3, Khabib often increased his pace. Wrestling as the core philosophy. Khabib's style was built around wrestling dominance. Unlike fighters who use wrestling only for takedowns, Khabib used wrestling as total control. His philosophy: close distance safely, secure the legs, chain wrestle if the first attempt fails, trap opponent against the cage, drain energy, slowly advance position, finish when opportunity occurs. This approach required not just strength, but patience. Most fighters panic under pressure. Khabib remained calm. He believed exhaustion was a weapon. He wanted opponents to mentally break before physically breaking. Mental strength, the unseen advantage. Many athletes train their bodies, few train their minds. Khabib's mental strength came from 3 pillars. 1. Faith's religious discipline gave him inner calmness. He never appeared emotionally unstable before fights. While opponents talked aggressively, Khabib remained composed. 2. Preparation. Believed anxiety comes from lack of preparation. Because he trained relentlessly, he entered fights without doubt. 3. Purpose. He did not fight for fame. He fought to represent his father, family, and country. That deeper purpose gave him emotional stability, even in high-pressure situations, like fighting Conor McGregor in one of the biggest events in UFC history. He stuck to his plan. Pressure did not control him. Daily training routine. Prime years. During his championship years, his routine often looked like this: morning session, 5-8 km, run wrestling drills, takedown, repetition sparring rounds, midi, strength and conditioning, core training, grip strength exercises, recovery, session, evening session, MMA sparring position, control drills, submission practice, strategy analysis. 3 sessions per day were common. Rest days were active. Recovery days light swimming, stretching, or mobility work. Why cardio was his ultimate weapon in many fights. Commentators repeated one phrase: Khabib doesn't get tired. His cardio was not accidental. It was engineered. He trained long rounds, often longer than fight duration. If a UFC fight lasted 5 minutes per round, he trained 7-8 minute rounds. This created a psychological edge. When opponents felt tired, Khabib felt normal. Cardio equals confidence. The importance of team and brotherhood. Khabib never trained alone. His gym culture was built around brotherhood. Training partners pushed each other constantly. Nobody was treated like a superstar. Even as champion, Khabib was just another fighter in the room. Iron sharpens iron. He later helped build and led teams at American Kickboxing Academy ARCA in California. There, he sharpened his striking to complement his wrestling base, but no matter where he trained, the Dagestani discipline remained the foundation. Injury, recovery, and patience. Between 2014 and 2016, knee injuries forced him out of competition. Many fighters lose motivation during long injuries. Khabib used that time to study opponents, improve game strategy, strengthen weak muscle groups, mentally prepare. He viewed setbacks as preparation phases, not failures. That mindset separates champions from contenders. Diet and discipline. Khabib followed structured nutrition plans during fight camps. Lean proteins, controlled carbohydrates, hydration discipline, strict weight cuts. Weight cutting was one of his biggest challenges, but discipline carried him through. He did not cheat diets. He respected the process. Psychological warfare through control. Unlike trash talkers, Khabib's psychological dominance came inside the cage. He spoke calmly during fights. He smiled while controlling opponents. He looked relaxed while they struggled. This broke confidence. When a fighter realizes he cannot escape, doubt grows. Doubt leads to mistakes. Khabib mastered that mental battle. Leadership after retirement. After retiring 29-0, Khabib transitioned into coaching. He guided fighters like Islam Makhachev toward championship success. His coaching philosophy mirrors his training philosophy. Discipline first, fundamentals over flash, cardio over ego. Respect over arrogancy demands the same standards from his athletes that his father demanded from him. The legacy of his gym philosophy Khabib proved something powerful. You do not need flashy knockouts to dominate. You need discipline, endurance, and mental strength. His gym philosophy can be summarized in 5 principles: train harder than competition, build cardio beyond limits, respect fundamentals, control emotions, stay loyal to your roots. Khabib Nurmagomedov did not arrive in the UFC through hype or social media fame. His path was built through discipline, regional dominance, and years of grinding in smaller promotions. Born in Dagestan, Russia, Khabib was trained from childhood by his father, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov. Wrestling, sambo, and combat discipline were part of his everyday life. By the time he turned professional in 2008, he already had a skill set that many fighters take decades to build. Between 2008 and 2011, Khabib compiled an undefeated record of 16-0, fighting mostly in Russia and Ukraine. He dominated opponents with ground control, submissions, and relentless pressure. Scouts began noticing his suffocating grappling style. At that time, the UFC lightweight division was one of the most competitive in the world. To get signed without being American or Brazilian was rare, but talent speaks loudly. In 2011, Khabib signed a contract with the UFC debut proving he belonged. 2012 Khabib made his UFC debut in January 2012 against Kamal Shalaris from the first round. It was clear that this was not a typical newcomer. He secured takedowns, controlled the fight on the ground, and eventually won via submission. He didn't just win, he dominated. The UFC quickly realized they had signed a different type of athlete. Unlike flashy strikers, Khabib's style was grinding and exhausting. He didn't give opponents space to breathe. Once he grabbed hold of them, escape became nearly impossible. Climbing the rankings between 2012 and 2014, Khabib built momentum with impressive victories. Win over Gleison to Bormani believed Tabao stopped Khabib's takedowns. But Khabib still controlled the pace and won via decision. It showed he could handle strong wrestlers. Win over Rafael dos Anjos's fight was huge. Dos Anjos later became UFC lightweight champion. Khabib dominated him decisively, proving he was elite. At this point, analysts started asking, is Khabib the future champion? Injury set back the pause before the storm in 2014. Khabib suffered serious knee injuries that forced him out of competition for nearly 2 years. For most fighters, long layoffs destroy careers, but Khabib returned stronger. The break allowed him to improve striking and refine strategy. When he came back in 2016, he looked more dangerous than ever. The dominant winning era begins from 2016 onward. Khabib entered what fans call his unstoppable phase. Michael Johnson fight. Khabib dominated and even talked calmly during the fight, telling Johnson to give up. That psychological confidence shocked viewers. Edson Barboza fight. Barboza was one of the most dangerous strikers in the division. Khabib completely neutralized him. It was one of the most one-sided performances in UFC history. The lightweight division realized this was not just a contender. This was a problem. Becoming UFC lightweight champion 2018 in April 2018, chaos surrounded the UFC 223 event. Multiple opponent changes happened due to controversies involving Conor McGregor. Despite the drama, Khabib stayed calm and fought Ai Quinta for the vacant lightweight title. He dominated the fight and became UFC lightweight champion. This marked the official start of his championship era. Major rivalry. His rivalry with Conor McGregor became one of the biggest rivalries in MMA history. The build-up to UFC 229 was intense and personal. McGregor attacked Khabib verbally, insulting his family, religion, and country. For Khabib, this was no longer business, it was personal. Inside the cage, however, Khabib was composed. He controlled McGregor with wrestling pressure and submitted him in the 4th round. After the fight, emotions exploded in a chaotic post-fight incident, but one fact remained clear. Khabib dominated the biggest star in UFC history. Rivalry with Dustin Poirier. Poirier earned his shot after an impressive run. Many believed Poirier's improved grappling could challenge Khabib, but once again, Khabib controlled the fight and submitted him in round 3. After the fight, Khabib showed respect, even exchanging shirts in a gesture of sportsmanship. Rivalry with Justin Gaethje was considered one of the toughest lightweights ever. Gaethje had strong wrestling and knockout power. Many analysts believed he had the best chance to defeat Khabib. In October 2020, they fought. Khabib looked sharper than ever. He submitted Gaethje in the second round. Then, he shocked the world. He retired undefeated. 29-0. Why his winning era was different. Khabib's dominance was not based on knockouts. It was based on pressure, conditioning, discipline, mental strength. The elite wrestling fundamental show rarely lost rounds. He rarely bled. He rarely looked tired. Opponents often looked defeated mentally before the final bell. The legacy of his rivalry with McGregor brought global attention. His wins over Poirier and Gaethje proved he was technically superior. His undefeated record cemented greatness. Few fighters retire at their peak, even fewer retire undefeated as champion. Khabib did both. Khabib Nurmagomedov is not just remembered for his undefeated 29-0 MMA record. He is remembered for something deeper, discipline that never broke. When people look at Khabib's fights, they see dominance. When they look at his gym life, they see obsession with improvement. But what truly made him different? It was not natural talent alone. It was not fame. It was not money. It was discipline. Khabib's gym motivation started long before cameras, titles, and pay-per-views. It started in the mountains of Dagestan, where comfort did not exist and excuses were not allowed. Gym was never option alpha. Many athletes, the gym is a choice. For Khabib, it was a lifestyle. His father, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, believed that a strong body builds a strong mind. From childhood, Khabib trained daily. Missing training was not normal. Complaining was unacceptable. This built a mentality where effort became automatic. He did not wake up and ask, "Do I feel motivated today?" He woke up and trained. That is the first lesson of his gym philosophy. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. Training in the mountains, building mental armor. Khabib's early conditioning was done outdoors. Running on rocky mountain terrain, wrestling on hard surfaces, training in cold weather, swimming in freezing rivers, long-distance endurance run. High-altitude training improved his lung capacity. The difficult environment improved his pain tolerance, but the real advantage was mental. When you train in uncomfortable conditions every day, comfort becomes irrelevant. Later in the UFC, when opponents struggled under bright lights and pressure, Khabib felt calm. Compared to his childhood training, the octagon felt easy. Cardio is a weapon. One of the most repeated phrases during his fights was, "Khabib doesn't get tired." Cardio was not just conditioning. It was strategy. His workouts often included 7-8-minute sparring rounds, longer than official rounds. Continuous grappling drills, minimal rest intervals, repetition until exhaustion. The goal was simple: if the fight lasts 25 minutes, train for 40. When opponents slowed down, he accelerated. That is, gym motivation in action, preparing beyond the required level. Wrestling discipline. The core of his drive. Wrestling is physically and mentally exhausting. It demands constant pressure. Khabib's motivation was built around mastery of fundamentals. He repeated the same takedown drills thousands of times, not hundreds, thousands, because mastery is not built from variety. It is built from repetition. This teaches an important gym lesson. Progress does not come from flashy exercises. It comes from consistent repetition of basics, faith and mental strength in training. Khabib's motivation was not fueled by ego. It was fueled by purpose. He often spoke about representing his family, his father, his country, his faith. When motivation is attached to a bigger purpose, quitting becomes harder. He did not train only for himself. He trained to honor something greater. That deeper meaning created emotional stability, even in brutal fight camps. He remained focused. The power of brotherhood in the gym. Khabib never trained alone. His camps were filled with teammates pushing each other daily. Nobody was treated like a superstar. Not even the champion. Iron sharpens iron. In his gym culture, if someone skipped training, they were called out. If someone slowed down, they were pushed harder. If someone improved, everyone celebrated. This environment created constant growth. Your environment shapes your motivation. Khabib's environment was built on accountability, injury comebacks, motivation. During setbacks between 2014 and 2016, Khabib suffered serious knee injuries. Many fighters lose confidence during long layoffs, but he used that time to study fight footage, strengthen weaknesses, improve mental strategy, build patience. Injury did not destroy his motivation. It refined it. True gym motivation is not tested during success. It is tested during setbacks. Winning mindset in every session. Khabib approached training as if it were competition. He did not take rounds off. He treated sparring like real fights, but with one difference. He trained smarter, not reckless, intensity with control. That balance allowed him to avoid unnecessary damage while still improving. 5 core gym motivation lessons from Khabib. Train even when you don't feel like it. Build cardio beyond limits. Master fundamentals through repetition. Surround yourself with disciplined people. Attach your goals to a deeper purpose. Why his gym motivation still inspires millions after retiring undefeated. Khabib transitioned into coaching. He now pushes younger fighters with the same standards his father used on him. His legacy is not only 29-0, his legacy is showing that discipline beats hype. He proved that quiet work in the gym can silence loud talk in competition.